Thank you so much for being here. This is Hira, and in this video I wanted to talk about, well, as the title says, grinning it and bearing it. Yeah, so basically you grin and you bear it. And it refers to whatever shit you're hiding in your closets at home. So yesterday I was talking to a friend from high school. I had sent her one of my videos. I was like, I'm going through this like self-love and self-empowerment phase where you just own all your shit no matter what. And she asked me, she was like, I have known you for so long, like why didn't we ever talk about this? And I didn't have to think about the answer for very long because I was like, I knew it. I was like, because in my household, my dad, who was like a demigod, had this big outlook that no matter what shit is in the house, when you go outside the house, you have to pretend like you're the happy little Dick and Jane family. The little Dickinsons are all happy and giddy, and they're perfect, and they're cute, and they look good all the time. The kids are good all the time. The kids can play outside all day, and they don't get any dirt on their clothes. And the little girl, she has pigtails, and her dress is all cute, and the boy is great, and then there's a happy little dog, So it's like this picturesque outlook of the perfect family, whatever that means. But that was his outlook. And if anyone tried to like go outside the house and like to talk about the shit that went inside the house and found out, he blew a piston. I remember when I was about, I think 8 or 9 years old, my brother and I were playing, this is like the old school Nintendo game, the really old school one. And my dad came home from work early, and our mom was in the other room, and we knew she was on the phone, and we were just busy playing. And he picks up the phone in the living room and is over like listening to her conversation. And at first I look at him, I'm like, what are you doing? And then he like tells me, he's like back off, And like even like in my heart, like I knew, I'm like, what are you doing? Like it's eavesdropping, Like that didn't feel right. And of course, if you call my dad out, it doesn't mean anything because he's a demigod, and as a demigod, you have amnesty in all stages, all aspects of your life. And then I remember after my mom got off the phone, they had a big blowout. Over what? My mom was talking to her friend and talking about how like she feels suppressed in her marital relationship and how she's treated like crap. And my dad, it was a big fucking blowout. I still remember it. Over what? And he was like, it's an insult to the family when you talk about things to anyone else, right? So basically, no matter what, you can be sexually abused, like in my case, or verbally abused. I was also verbally abused, or physically abused. And it doesn't matter what's going on in the house, you have to smile like Barbie all the time and be like, no, I'm great, I'm wonderful, I couldn't be better. My dad is not a fucking dickhead. He's awesome. Like Mr. Dickinson, perfect, peachy, lovely dad. Like you couldn't even be half as good as him. That's what he cared about. I called my dad out for my sexual abuse because a part of me like felt like he was to blame for it because he invited my cousin to live with us, and then like he blew a piston. He didn't give a shit, and because what was it? Because I'm talking about something that we do not talk about. Whatever happens. You put it into the closet. You shove it under the bed. You don't ever look at it. So who cares what the monsters that lie in your room or in your closet? We don't talk to the world about it, and you have to just suck it up and deal with it. This is your lot in life. You are all peasants and he is God, and then you bow down to him. And you know what? Now I have a different outlook. I'm like, if you want to talk about shit, talk about shit. One thing I really actually appreciate about the ghetto and like growing up in the ghetto is owning your shit. People in the ghetto, a lot of them own their shit, and it is so cool to be like, yeah, I am in a gang, this is what I do. Or yes, like it's like I saw a video of Cardi B. I don't know if she grew up in the ghetto or not, but just a clip, and someone asked her, oh, have you ever done ballet? And she was like, no, but I was a stripper. Owning your shit, that is badass. And you know what? That is where empowerment comes from. People feel like talk about, oh, I feel so vulnerable in life. I'm like, own your shit. Everything, every single fucking thing. Things you like, things you don't, things that are good, things that were bad, everything. And once you start owning it, that's like you become invulnerable. You become invulnerable through your vulnerability. It's actually really quite amazing. So I do a lot of Iyengar yoga. I love Iyengar yoga. And one of the things a big aspect, not of just Iyengar yoga, of yoga in general, is to open up your chest. You're opening up your heart space, opening yourself up, not only to yourself, but to the world around you. And it's this aspect of, okay, so obviously if you get injured in our heart space, it's probably a fatal injury. Like that cavity is gonna drown in blood and you're not gonna make it. But in yoga, this idea of like, especially with these beautiful back bends, I know I just did a back bend yoga class, you open up and you bend backwards and you open your heart space to the world and the universe around you. And there's something, once, if you have the courage to be able to do it and to trust your body, and if your body even allows you to do this, there's something so beautiful. It's like a new blossoming within you, and you think that it's vulnerability, but it's not. It's invulnerability. It's like the lotus flower that comes up from the dirt, from the mud, and it blossoms. And it's amazing because the lotus flower does not bring up the mud with it. So it's so that aspect of owning your shit and knowing that once you talk about it, once you discuss it, once you, if you want to, you don't have to discuss it, but once you own it, that you're no longer vulnerable. Like, no one can hold it against you because you've already talked about it. Like, so what? Someone's gonna come up to me and be like, yeah, you were sexually abused. I was like, yeah, I was for 5 years. Yeah. And then someone's gonna be like, oh, you don't have a relationship with dad? No. I was like, I don't even want a relationship with my dad. He's a dick. He doesn't give a shit about me. You know? I mean, maybe he loves me a little bit, and I have very little love for him. But do I want him in my life? No. And am I gonna feel bad about it? No. No, not at all. I remember one time I was talking to my friend, and we're both older. We met in undergrad, and she was like, and she grew up in a Catholic household, so thou shall not fill in the blank, right? Or thou shall fill in the blank. Very much like my Muslim household, different labels, like thou shall obey the parents, and her mom, like, she had, like, they were not on the same page. Her mom wasn't as bad as my dad, but like, she definitely, she felt like her mother restrained her. And I was like, we use these ideologies and these philosophies and we sanctify them through the heavens, and then we bind people to them, right? Like, thou shall not, I don't know, fill in the blank, drink, thou shall not go, like, use curse words, or thou shalt obey the parents all the time, right? Like, these rules, every household has them. They're just different. They vary from household to household. In my household, like, the rule was you listen to, like, thou shalt listen to the father all the fucking time, no matter what. And his will was the will of God. He was sanctified because he said so. And I was talking to my friend, I was like, these rules are like Lord of the Rings, like, where you give the rings of power, and then you bind people to the darkness forever. Like, it's that's what it is. It is binding. It's like you're putting me in a straitjacket and you're like binding me to your little cookie cutter, right? Like, that's what I'm here for. And I'm like, no, not doing it. And and I explained, I started talking to my friend about this. The friend asked me, like, why didn't you, like, share this stuff with me before? And we've known each other for a very long time, like 2 decades. It was a long time. So, and then, and I told her this, and she said, and she's Asian and I love her. And she was like, my household is like that too. We had this, like, she's like, I guess a big part of Asian culture is also that you have to keep up with an image, right? The image of Dick and Jane. In my family, that was the image, like Dick and Jane image. And she was like, her household had a different image. And she was like, it was toxic. Like, it was inhibiting. And then what she said afterwards? She was like, wow. She was like, after talking to you, I feel like our friendship leveled up. That we are relatable. That we're not meant to be alone. That you can form these sisterhood or brotherhood or companionship. I love that word, companionship, with each other once we're more honest with ourselves. Not necessarily with each other. When you're honest with yourself and you own everything in your life, then you begin to blossom as a new person. And it is, and I really encourage people to do this, to do this first in themselves, to, like, actually take time out. Just maybe it's only 60 seconds a day before you go to bed, or first time you get, first thing in the morning. just to reflect, be like, what is it that I want to own today? You know, maybe it could be something just like your body hair. Be like, yeah, I own it. It's part of who I am. Or just be like, no, I don't like my mother. Own it. You know, I mean, I have a good relationship with my mother, but I've met people that don't have a good relationship with their mother, and that's okay. Because we're constantly changing, we're constantly evolving, but you don't want to keep taking this baggage, this negative baggage with you forward, because it will keep dragging you down. It'll keep dragging you down. So I really hope that this helps you and that all is well. Namaste.